mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts. How do we like our martial arts? Oh, baby, we like it mixed. Yeah.
So mixed, and we really like them at 125 pounds, Casey, because that's what we're getting this weekend. UFC 310 is officially official. All fighters have weighed in. Not all fighters have made weight, mind you, but they are all, at this point in time, set to go, which means on Saturday, Alexandre Pantoja is putting his belt on the line against the debuting Kai Asakura and, of course, Shavkat Rakhmonov, Ian Machado Garry, a battle of the undefeateds. UFC 310 going down 24 hours and a little change from now. And so, as we always do, it's time for the preview show, ladies and gents. Hi, I'm Jed Meshew, MMAfighting.com. It's a great website. We're happy to have you here. And we got a lot to get into. So before we talk about, who missed weight, whether that fight's going to actually happen, what is going to happen tomorrow, let me introduce you to my compatriot, my co-pilot for this wonderful preview show. You know him, you love him. He is the man behind On to the Next One. He is the voice of the MMA Fighting podcast and YouTube network. He is some people's best friends, and he's really the only masshole you know that you don't hate, at least in my case. I'm speaking, of course, about the sensational Mr. Michael Heck.
Wow, to be an unhated masshole, it's pretty significant. But in this sport, I'm sure there's a few people that hate me. But hey, I will take that intro every day of the week and twice on Sunday, Jed. Very excited to talk about UFC 310.
Well, I hate you now because you moved to my neck of the woods and you brought this cold weather bullshit with you, and I'm not here for it. We were talking about it before. It's 20 in Atlanta, and it's not now, but this morning it was 20. I don't stand for this, Mike. So take it up north with you, because it needs to be a little warmer for our lovely watch party tomorrow, Mike. I mean, I hope things are going to heat up, because they will certainly be fiery in what is this, Command Center 4.0 now that we do it from?
My suggestion to you is to bring a sweatshirt, maybe a jacket of some kind. I think the head attire might be needed. But yeah, it does warm up once you start yelling and screaming. So plus, once Bryce Mitchell Chrome Gracie comes on, it could be 6 below and it's going to feel like 500 degrees.
It's going to be electric. I am so excited for it. So let's talk about what the big thing is. It's the final pay-per-view of the year, Mike. It's UFC 310. It is a pay-per-view. We've talked a lot. On paper, it looks good. We will talk about the weights in just a little bit. But before we dive into the particulars, I want to start where kind of I always want to start, and just broad spectrum here. You don't have a patented Michelin flat earth star system. You don't have a gymnastics scale, but give us the Mike Heck kind of where are we feeling about this card? How does it fit in the pantheon of the pay-per-view events, and just broadly speaking, the UFC events of 2024?
So in the Boston sports landscape and history, this is the Dustin Pedroia of fight cards. May not be the flashiest, might win an MVP from time to time, make a few all-star teams, but he's not going to knock your socks off completely, especially on paper, because he's 5'9" and $160, but the man can still hit a ball 400 feet. That's what this card is like, because Dustin Pedroia in person is absolutely electric, even though the statistics and the way he's statured doesn't really knock your socks off. And I'm sure Major League Baseball scouts didn't look at Dustin Pedroia and be like, this dude is going to be one of the best second basemen in Red Sox history. That's what UFC 310 is to me. This card is so good. Like, it is really good. Doesn't have a lot of star power, doesn't have a John Jones, doesn't have big name value. It has significant fights across the entire thing. You have Michael Chiesa and Chris Weidman not just fighting on the prelims, they're fighting before they go to ESPN 2 and Disney Plus before 8 p.m. Those two guys are both going to have fights wrapped and packed. They'll be out walking the streets of Las Vegas before the ESPN prelims start. That's crazy. That is crazy. Chris Weidman on the MSG card was an ESPN guy. Michael Chiesa on most cards is a main card guy. These guys are fighting on the early prelims. That just shows you the depth of this card. The main event is fascinating. Now it's a little more fascinating because Kai Asakura made weight. Shavkat Rakhmonov, Ian Machado Garry is absolutely ridiculous. The heavyweight fight's good. We got Bryson Crone, which literally could be anything. Nate Landwehr, Doo-Ho Choi are just going to beat the holy hell out of each other for as long as that fight lasts. And you just have like names you know if you're a hardcore MMA fan. You have former John Jones title challengers, Anthony Smith and Dominic Reyes fighting each other finally. Vicente Luque is fighting, part of the all-time all-violence team. Temba Garimbo's looking for a big win. Movsar Evloev, Aljamain Sterling, big title implications there. That's early in the card. Maybe we get Randy Brown-Bryan battle. Maybe not. I don't really know yet. Spoiler alert. We'll see what's going to happen there. But like even the early prelims, like Cody Durden, Josh Van is going to slap Clay Guida. Chase Hooper is a good fight. Kenny Nunchucks, as you like to call him, versus Lucas Bresky. We know what's going to happen there. Kenny's just going to go in there and whoop that man for about 55 seconds till that fight's over. So start to finish, I think we're going to have a damn good time watching this fight card. And if it's the holiday season, you're like, I don't want to spend $85 after taxes and fees to watch this card. We got you covered because we're going to have a damn good time on the watch party.
I mean, you've done a great job of selling it because, if it's the holiday season, prices are going up. You gotta get the new Astro Man or whatever. I don't know what the hot toy is this season. I don't even know if there are hot toys anymore in the Christmas season. Like, feels like we're not in that sort of society anymore. But you got other expenses. You got to buy a roast beef. Just join us for the watch party. And like you said, kind of watch along from the early prelims, all the stuff that's free or free on ESPN Plus, because most of this is good. You did mention the weight thing. Brian Battle missed weight by 5 pounds. As things stand, this card is currently 14 fights. It very well may drop to 13. Battle, the only fighter to miss weight, though Anthony Smith did notably miss weight the first time, but then re-weighed in shortly thereafter and successfully made the 206-pound limit. So of the 14 fights, only one of them seems to be in real jeopardy, and I think it's probably a coin flip whether this turns to a 13-fight card. But the other big weigh-in thing, the thing that I was truly the most interested in as far as today goes, Mike, it's the main event because Kai Asakura successfully makes flyweight and doesn't even look that bad. He looked like it was a weight cut, mind you, but his first time making flyweight since 2017. I had to go back in the Rolodex and remember that. So first time making this weight class for a professional bout in 7-8-ish years. Looked pretty good. And now the main event is official, Mike. So initial takeaways, were you looking at the weigh-in as closely as I was to be like, hey, how's this going to go? And then from there, just go into sort of what's the excitement level for this fight in particular? Because it's a weird one. Flyweight is always such a weird weight class. A lot of people aren't galvanized by it, but at the same time, I struggle to see this fight being anything other than awesome.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. I wasn't really truly worried about Asakura stepping on the scale because he was going to fight Brandon Royval like a month and a half after he signed with the UFC and was ready to go on that Australia card, that DDP and Izzy headline. And if he could make weight in that amount of time, then I didn't really have an issue here. Plus, he kind of talked about it at media day that, he fought at bantamweight in Ryzen, but he didn't really even have to cut a ton of weight to get to 135 or whatever, how they handle the weight classes over there. So I wasn't really that concerned. He did look good. He's going to be a big boy in there. Pantoja went to the UFC weigh-in show and talked with the desk and was like, I was really happy he made weight, but we all just kind of went through the entire camp being like, all right, this dude's going to make weight. He's going to be a way bigger, stronger fighter than I look, essentially, once we face off. But yeah, man, this fight is just going to be awesome because Kai Asakura is a powerhouse. This dude is fun to watch. He might not win the title tomorrow, but he is going to be one of those guys that when you see him on a fight poster, when you see the eventual fight poster that Kai Asakura and Brandon Royval or Kai Asakura and Brandon Moreno are going to fight each other down the line, you are going to be like incredibly excited to see these fights because that's the kind of fighter that Asakura is. Having said that, he's fighting a guy who doesn't get hurt. And Alexandre Pantoja, the dude is durable as hell, so well-rounded. I said this on BTL yesterday. I feel very confident in saying that Alexandre Pantoja is the most underrated fighter in the UFC, despite the win streak he's on, despite being a flyweight champion, despite being a guy that could hold this title for a really, really long time. I'm very, very excited for it. It is going to be real fun. And I don't think this is getting past round 3.
Most underrated fighter in the UFC is absolutely correct. You'll remember not that long ago, for those who listened to all our stuff on a rankings pod, I vehemently argued that he is depressingly low ranked in our own rankings for pound. He is number 11 because I pulled it up to make sure I wasn't losing my mind. He is number 11 in the UFC's pound for pound rankings, a man who is 9-0 over ranked opposition in his weight class. It is insane the disrespect that this dude gets, but he gets another tall test and a sort of a weird one, right? Because Kai Asakura is not ranked, unknown. The UFC, to their credit, Mike, has done a very good job of whatever they needed to do, whatever kind of deal they cut with Ryzen to get the footage rights here. They have on ESPN, the ESPN YouTube has blasted out a bunch of Kai Asakura fights. The UFC YouTube as well has said, check out the best performances of Kai Asakura's career. They have done a good job of trying to get him in front of as many eyeballs as possible before the event. And so I think people won't come in this entirely kind of taken aback by it, but I am very interested in this fight, in this matchup, in a lot of things. But I talked about this fight a lot yesterday. And so, Mike, let's put it this way. What's the biggest question you have regarding this main event matchup?
I kind of prefaced it, but can Kai Asakura actually hurt Alexandre Pantoja? Can he be the guy that actually hurts that jaw and makes that guy look human in there? Because he hasn't lately. Brandon Moreno thumped him up pretty proper, hit him with some big shots, and just kept coming. Royval cracked him a couple times, just kept coming. Good old Vinny Siggs hit him with his best shot many times at UFC 301, and he just kept fighting and walking through it. The dude is just, as you like to say, he's unkillable. He's one of those guys, and I honestly believe that the longer this fight goes, the more it favors Pantoja, because I just think he's so much more well-rounded. He's just a better overall mixed martial artist. But when it comes to chaos and power and just overall striking technique, Kai Asakura is a little bit better. So for me, can Asakura hurt this man? If he does, for me, he's not winning a decision. That will be, I don't know if this question is going to come up, but if someone asks, what's the most surprising result of the main event, it would be Asakura winning a decision against Alexandre Pantoja. I just don't see a world where that happens. So I think Asakura's best chance is to go in there and just melt Pantoja. And I just don't know if he could do it. I know Pants is getting up there in age a little bit. He's been in some battles. I mean, the Moreno battle is not that long ago. Vinny Siggs gave him a run for his money. That was a really tough fight. So maybe that all catches up to him. So I guess that's the biggest question I have is this still the same Pantoja who is unbelievably durable and can take these big shots and just keep moving forward?
He has been knocked down once in his entire UFC career at this point. Crazy. That was Davison Figueiredo. Figgy didn't get him out of there. He just dropped him. Being said, does get hit a lot. I'm with you. I think I'll go the other side of that equation, though, as far as my biggest question, because I think probably Kai Asakura can hurt him. I don't know if he could finish Pants. But the thing I am a lot more interested is the other side of the table is now that he's made weight, can Asakura defend the takedowns? Because a lot of Figueiredo's game, a lot of his success in this title run has come via his grappling, his ability to control positions, to kind of roll through with scrambles and hold top position as he needs, get to the back and hold that. We have seen Asakura struggle in the rematch with Okukubo, in the Juan Archuleta fight. He got taken down a bunch. He has put a lot of time and effort into this. You can go check his Instagram and stuff. You can see him wrestling. And he is, as you noted earlier, big fella in there. He's a much bigger man now. And so Pantoja has been a little bit reckless in his career at times. Does he fight much smarter? Does he start looking early? This fight could unfold a number of ways, and I am truly really, really excited to see it go down. It's not the main event people probably want, and certainly not the broader public wants, but I think it is a very fitting main event to end the year on, at least as far as the pay-per-view schedule. And so, Mike, not much else to do but to call it. So what do you think is happening tomorrow? Who's getting their hand raised and leaving as the UFC flyweight champion?
This is going to be another Pantoja classic for a little while. Like, this fight's just going to be a banger. Asakura might actually catch the chin and wobble Pantoja at a certain point early in the fight, but I wasn't concerned about Asakura making weight. I am a little concerned about what that weight cut translates to when the fight actually begins. And maybe it doesn't translate into anything. Maybe he just goes in there and looks like bantamweight Kai Asakura and there's no issues whatsoever. But Pantoja, I think, he's so well coached, and his coaching staff just knows him so well. And just the excitement on this man's face. He's not going to sit there and talk trash about Kai Asakura. He's not going to say anything that's going to steal a bunch of headlines. He is genuinely excited about this fight. He is like a child on Christmas Eve, knowing that he's going to wake up and there's going to be presents under that Christmas tree. That's how excited he is to fight a guy like this. He has done nothing but put over Kai Asakura as a worthy title challenger. He knows the dangers that Kai Asakura represents, and he is excited to fight a champion from another organization and have some fresh blood sort of inserted into this division that he currently runs right now. Having said that, I think this fight goes about 12 minutes and it ends with Alexandre Pantoja submitting Kai Asakura in round number 3 in just an unbelievable 2.25 round fight where it's up, it's down, but then Pantoja just kind of gets a tired, a little more weathered Asakura to the mat, transitions and gets a submission. I don't know if it's going to be like a rear naked choke. I don't know what the exact submission is, but I think we get a tap. Round 3, about 2 minutes into round 3.
I like that. Not where I'm going, though. I am picking Pantoja to get this done. Basically, Kai Asakura, to your point, Pants has put him over, and Kai Asakura has done a great job of being like an 80s movie villain. Just he's got the look of a dude who should be the greatest heel in the sport. And like all true great heels and movie villains, frankly, we've seen that when the rubber meets the road, he has lost to some of the best opposition he's faced. When he gets into deep waters, they can be too much for him. And for whatever Pantoja's faults as a fighter are, when his back against the wall, he is coming out. He is battling through any sort of adversity that's put in front of him. I think that is a huge feather in his cap here. I think the fact that this is in a cage, it'll be Asakura's first time fighting in a cage since 2017 as well. And mostly, I think that as this fight drags on, it favors Pantoja certainly. So I think Asakura is going to make it fun and certainly early, maybe win first couple of rounds. But ultimately, that championship medal of Pantoja gets her done, and he takes a decision victory. And the odds makers tend to agree. Pantoja, our friends at FanDuel, have as a minus 260 betting favorite to come back on Asakura at plus 205. So if you're feeling one type of way, get on in there.
Yeah, it's funny you kind of like lay it out like that. We kind of looked at it too, because as I was thinking about how to compare this card to something else, and I know the name value on 310 is not as strong as the one I'm comparing it to. 2016, there were 2 pay-per-views in December. 207 was the return of Ronda Rousey fighting Amanda Nunes, and that was a very big deal. But earlier that month, we had UFC 206, and we had Holloway Aldo 2 on that card. Or was that the Pettis card? I don't remember. Maybe it was the Pettis card.
I have to look it up.
It was the Pettis card. It was the Pettis card. Just like a random out of nowhere fight. Pettis dropping down to featherweight to fight Max Holloway. And it was just like a card that looked really good on paper, but people were like, I don't know if I want to spend the money. And this is the kind of card we get. You know, coincidentally enough, Doo Ho Choi was on that card and fought Cub Swanson, and just an absolute banger. Donald Cerrone friggin' destroys Matt Brown in just an incredibly fun fight. And then Max Holloway goes in there and does Max Holloway things. Like this, to me, like it screams 206. One of those ones where it looks good on paper. You don't know if you want to spend the money, but at the end of it, when you hear everybody talking about it and you're on Twitter and you go on our post-fight show and we talk about how this card actually performed, you're like, shit, I should have spent the money. This kind of screams 206 to me, where it's not like the biggest name value at the time in the sport, but man, this could, if this all goes well, this could deliver not quite to the level of UFC 300 in terms of fun, but pretty damn close if all goes well here.
I firmly agree. I think that there's a possibility that the way they've placed some of these fights, they're there's room for some of these stinkers to sort of break up a good run or good energy, but there's also just a lot of opportunity for this to be a bunch of finishes, a bunch of big betting favorites on this card, and that usually lends itself to more finishes. That's certainly not prescriptive, is just a little more instructive. And let's move on though, Mike, because we should talk about the guy who's supposed to be headlining, because Pantoja was supposed to be the amuse-bouche, the appetizer to what would have been a kick-ass main event, a main event I was very much looking forward to, and the coronation of a young man who I've been very, very high on for a very long time. I'm speaking, of course, of Shavkat Rakhmonov, who was supposed to fight Bilal Muhammad for the UFC welterweight title in the main event. Muhammad had a toe injury. I want to clarify, this was not a Conor McGregor toe injury. You can go check his Instagram. His toe is one of the most disgusting things I've seen this year. Very clearly could not fight, certainly not on this timeline. And so he withdrew. Shavkat, being the hero that he is, says, I want to stay on the card. And Ian Machado Garry gets pulled from main eventing UFC Tampa, which takes place next weekend, and inserted into this fight. So, Mike, 5 rounds, welterweight, a title fight on the line, all of this to be discussed. But I want to start right here. Should both men have taken this? Should Shavkat have accepted this fight? And should Ian Machado Garry have accepted leaving his Tampa main event to come do this fight?
Garry, yes. Because, yes, losing stinks, but it doesn't matter for him. He loses some, but not a ton here. And even if he goes in and even if he's the Kevin Holland to Shavkat's Khamzat Chimaev in this situation, like nobody gave a shit. Kevin Holland stepped up and saved a fight and kept Khamzat on the card and got run over and nobody cared. Like it was a valiant effort getting destroyed. It was like the most praise a guy who got absolutely run over in a fight got. And I kind of feel like it's going to be the same way for Ian Machado Garry. And you've seen it all week. When was the last time Ian Machado Garry was at a press conference? It was like getting cheered and not getting booed out of the building. It's been a long ass time. So whatever he's been doing, whatever things he's been learning, maybe it's the association with Charles Oliveira. Shout out to Damon Martin. I don't want to steal his fire. He kind of threw that out there, but he's doing everything right. Him stepping up and taking this opportunity just puts him on a different level. He is looked at in a much different way because he is stepping in. He is giving up what many perceive to be the easier fight to fight the boogeyman of this division, a guy who he has trained with before, a guy he knows very, very well. And Shavkat, I understand why he's taking it. He's been out for a year. He says he's been offered different fights, different names. All of them have turned him down. Waits for his title shot, gets it after Bilal wins the belt. And all these things just kind of went into his favor. And there are a lot of fans out there who feel like he hasn't even earned a title shot. He hasn't gotten that marquee win. That wins over Jeff Neal and Wonderboy and Neil Magny are not enough to get him a title shot. Well, many of us have argued. I just want to see what happens if he gets the shot, because while you can make a case for Kamaru Usman, I can't justify a guy who's lost 3 fights in a row, no matter what the situation is, fighting for a belt. So there's only one guy left, and you can't run it back with Leon Edwards. So we finally were going to find out, and then Bilal gets hurt, and Shavkat elects to stay on the card. Now, if he was fighting Usman for an interim belt in the main event spot, like, I get it on his end, but something tells you this was his decision to just say, despite what his team may have said, you know what, I'm fighting. I don't give a shit who it is. Let's go. And that is going to be looked at historically as an incredible thing in its own right. So to me, and I don't know the insights of what's going on with this team or anything like that, I would have to say that there were some people saying, look, man, you have a title shot. You're not going to have to wait that long. You might have to wait till like April or May to fight for the belt. It's right there. It's yours. And as we've been saying on these programs for so long, availability is your best friend. Taking a fight here on this card, if it goes 5 rounds, like it's a really talented guy like Ian Garry, and he gets dinged up and Bilal's ready to come back in May and Shavkat's not ready, they ain't waiting. They're just going to move on, and they're going to give it to Usman, or they're going to give it to maybe Joaquin Buckley if he goes in there and beats Colby Covington. Who knows? Maybe if Colby beats Joaquin Buckley, he finds his way into a title shot. So he is risking a lot here, which is why, like, I don't think he should have taken this fight. But the fact that he is taking this fight, he deserves so much credit. Ian Garry deserves so much credit. This is just a smart business move more so on the Ian Garry side because there's really no loss here. He's 26. He's the future of this division, pun completely intended. And even if he goes out and gets run over by Shavkat, sure, if Shavkat wins the belt, as long as he's champion, a rematch probably is going to happen anytime soon. But still, he is going to be looked at so favorably by the UFC, by the matchmakers, by Dana White. Dana's going to speak glowingly of him no matter what the result is tomorrow. And that's always a great thing to have in your back pocket. But the fan base will look at him differently as well. So yes to Garry. Not so sure for Shavkat, but Shavkat's just a different animal, man. He just doesn't care what anybody says. He wanted to fight, and he's fighting, and I respect the hell out of it.
So I've been thinking about this since yesterday's BTL because I'm firmly with you on Shavkat. And even further, I think he probably shouldn't have taken it. I think it's awesome that he did. Like, it's so cool, and we should celebrate fighters when they do stuff like this because this is a bad business decision. Like, I think pretty objectively. He comes in here and he runs over Garry. That's awesome. Like, the myth of Shavkat continues to rise. But the risk here is so massive because you are right. You know, Bilal at the World MMA Awards last year, whatever, Fighters Only MMA or whatever they're called, was like he's cleared to be training either soon or now already. So he could have just waited. He would get the next title fight. And now he risks injury. He risks something happening. He risks a loss, which obviously would then take away a title opportunity for him. And so there's a ton of risk even in a fight that, spoiler alert, I think he is going to do very well in. I have come a little bit more around to the idea that this might be a bad choice for Garry as well, Mike. I think it's clearly been, again, awesome, super cool that he did it. And this is helping rehab his image with a certain section of the fan base who are very, very anti-Ian Garry. But to your point, Mike, if maybe Shavkat does stick around and fight somebody else on this card and Shavkat gets hurt and suddenly they need a title contender, and if Garry beats Joaquin Buckley and they need somebody to step in April, Garry could have been right there. So he has got a lot more to gain, certainly, but I do think there's a lot of risk here. So mostly just credit to both men because they could have easily just said, no, there's just not enough juice here for this particular squeeze, and we can meet up again down the line. But instead, they hung around 5 rounds. It's going to be incredibly fun for as long as it lasts. And so, Mike, the question then turns to, how long is it going to last? Like, what are we looking at for this matchup? What questions do you want to get answered? And ultimately, do you think that Shavkat's going to get it done, or is Ian Garry going to be the one who remains undefeated after Saturday?
I think Shavkat's going to get him out of there. You and Luke both laid it out perfectly that eventually Shavkat is going to get his hands on Ian Garry. There's just no avoiding it. At some point, he is going to grab a hold of Ian Garry. And when that happens, this fight's a wrap. Like, he's a friggin' animal. And sometimes it takes a little time to get a hold and all that. And you can defend takedowns all you want to the best of your ability, but eventually that man is going to put you on your back. And when he does, you are in a world of trouble. And eventually that is going to happen. I guess like the biggest question I have is, what kind of Ian Garry are we going to see? Are we going to see a guy that's on his bike, that's just moving around, just not doing much, just trying to avoid, maybe throw a jab, maybe throw a quick leg kick and get the hell out of there? Or are we going to see a guy who feels the momentum of what he's doing and just goes after Shavkat, just goes for broke, takes some of the lessons he learned watching Jeff Neal fight Shavkat, just get in that man's face and get aggressive? Now, that is a very risky play, but the respect that will come out of that for Ian Garry, if he just gets in Shavkat's face and just starts humming at him, that is going to be real interesting to see how Shavkat reacts to that, because I don't think Shavkat will see that coming from a mile away. I think him and his team read this fight the way everybody else does. He's going to stay on the outside. He's going to take a shot here and there. He's not going to take a lot of risk. He's just going to try to outpoint and stay on his feet. And it would be pretty fun if Ian just gets shot out of a cannon and just gets right in Shavkat's grill and starts throwing everything he's got at him. So I am curious. That's probably my biggest question is how aggressive will Ian Garry be out the gate? Is he going to try to surprise Shavkat immediately? Very risky game. Having said that, the pick is Shavkat Rakhmonov, submission round number 2. Garry might have a little success early in round 1, but eventually he's going to get a hold of Ian Garry. He's going to put him on his back, and Shavkat is just going to get him out of there. Like, he's just an absolute freak, man. He's an absolute monster, and I think that's going to show. And then hopefully for the Shavkat's fans of the world and for his team, that's the result we get. It's just a nice, easy night at the office. So whenever Bilal Muhammad is ready to fight, Shavkat can get right back in there, 6 months or less, and fight for the belt.
You are not alone in that sentiment. Our friends at FanDuel have Shavkat as a minus 400 betting favorite to come back on Garry, plus 300. And teased it earlier. I'm with you. I'm on Shavkat. I have a bet on Shavkat. Shavkat is my choice for the climb this week as I continue to try and journey 30 bet parlay one step at a time. The more I've looked into this fight, the more I've just gone back and rewatched their fights. I think this is, I felt good about Shavkat already. I feel even better about him now. I do not think Shavkat is a perfect fighter. I do not think he is invulnerable. We saw Jeff Neal make him work very hard. The issue that Shavkat presents is one that I've said a lot in various different matchups that I've broken down over the years, and that Luke elucidated very well yesterday on BTL. You gotta be perfect for 25 minutes. You can win a lot of battles against Shavkat, but winning the war is so very, very different. And while I think Ian Garry can have some success staying on his bike and fighting at range, I don't think he's going to blow the doors off Shavkat there. And Shavkat's going to keep pressuring him. He's going to keep working the body. Shavkat's very good at working the body. We haven't seen Garry have to deal with that a lot. And as soon as this gets into a clinch, and God forbid for Garry, it goes to the floor, it's the guillotine, man. It is the stockade. This dude is getting stretched out like it's 17th century French Revolution shit. It is devastating if you get into the bad spots with him. And so over 25 minutes, I think Garry can make him work. I think Garry can hit him. I think Garry would be well served to your point, Mike. Just come out and say F it. Like, I'm probably a little outgunned here, so let's solve this in 60 seconds, not 25 minutes, because I think he might have a better chance of just trying to brawl it in right out of the gate and catch him unawares. I don't think that's going to happen. I think ultimately Garry is going to succumb to a finish because that's what Shavkat Rakhmonov does. He's a little more methodical than maybe he used to be. It takes him a little longer, but I do think he gets his hands on him and gets Garry out of there, submits him, and moves on to his business with Bilal Muhammad. Bunch of other fights on this card, Mike. Let me run them down very quickly, and then we don't need to dive into any of them in particular other than the ones you want to talk about, because feature bout of the evening, a heavyweight rematch between Cyril Gane and Alexander Volkov. Bryce Mitchell taking on Kron Gracie, and my favorite fight maybe of the whole goddamn year. Nate Landwehr versus Duho Choi rounds out your main card, and then we move to the prelims where Dominic Reyes, Anthony Smith, Vicente Luque, Timba Karimbo, Movsar Evloev, Aljamain Sterling. It is the fight that is so underrated now. It maybe is even a little bit overrated because the narrative is so much about how this should be on the main card that now maybe it's too much about how this should be on the main card. Randy Brown-Bryan battle may or may not happen. Weidman, Eric Anders, Cody Durden, Josh Van. Shout out to Atlanta. I think he's going to lose. Michael Chiesa, Max Griffin should be a super fun fight. Happy birthday, Michael Chiesa. It's tomorrow. Clay Guida, Chase Hooper, and then Kennedy Nzechukwu, a.k.a. Kenny Nunchucks, taking on Lucas Bresky. That opens the whole card. So, Mike, I ran down the list of all the fights. We've talked about the big two. Give me the three fights. If you're picking, let's say this is a Thanksgiving or a Christmas dinner. You don't have to get one of every item. But, you're building your plate as you move on down the line before you take your spot at the table with the family. Give me the three items you're picking out of this to kind of round out your Thanksgiving dinner plate. You've got the turkey. You've got the mashed potatoes in the main and co-main event. Round it out for me.
What would Bryce Mitchell Kron Gracie be?
Oh, that's the pumpkin pie, baby. That should be the last fight of the night. That should be the dessert. Maybe not like that should be the 3 a.m. drunk cigarette of fights. Like it's the best fight.
Yeah, I love that. So real quick, I did want to read this. This is what Randy Brown just posted on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
19,
Breaking news.
It seemed 19 walks to the UFC octagon alone, 6 on the regional scene. I've never missed weight, not one time, like a true professional. Brian knew he wasn't going to make the weight from the day before, but still let me suffer through a weight cut. These guys bite the bullet on percentage, then come in overweight on purpose so they can get a weight advantage on fight night. I'll be no more than 185 tomorrow. I bet he'll be well over 200 tomorrow. To me, that sounds like a fist fight is going to happen tomorrow, just based on what I'm reading there. So again, this is not confirmation. I'm going to try to get it as soon as I can. I do have some messages out to try to see what the hell's going on with all this one, but this seems like a fight that is going to happen. And now Randy Brown's a little pissed off. So let's throw that on there. This is
a little fire in the belly.
This is the stuffing. Gotta have a little stuffing. Throw a little gravy on top of that. The gravy, which is just an important piece of this, the thing that puts it over the top,
it ties the plate together.
Yeah, you can't have turkey and mashed potatoes and stuffing and all that without the gravy. And that is Nate Landwehr versus Duo Choi. It is just gonna be gravy. It's just gonna pour all over. It's gonna change the color of everything. It's gonna look absolutely terrific, and it's just gonna taste much better. And then we get to the cranberry sauce, which not everybody likes. I love it, but not everybody is a cranberry sauce fan. Movsar Evloev versus Aljamain Sterling. Not everybody likes these guys. I like them, and this is high-level shit. So, and I actually think this fight's going to be incredibly fun. I really have a feeling that this fight is going to look way different in execution than people are building this up to be, including the 2 fighters who are about to fight each other. So that's probably the 3 I'm going with, but you can make a strong case for 3 others as well.
I love carrying on the analogy. I thought for sure that Aljo versus Movsar, that was going to be like the green bean casserole is the vegetables. So there's a green item to be imbibed in this meal. And because that's what this is. I mean, this is not, the leafy greens.
That's Clay Guida. That's
Edwards,
Clay Guida, Chase Hooper. Clay Guida, Chase Hooper is the green fight where it's just like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what this is going to taste like, but it shall be eaten. And that's what that fight's going to be. Plus, happy birthday, Clay Guida on Sunday.
On Sunday, 2 birthday boys. Whoo, very, very exciting stuff. AK and I have been talking to some people trying to figure out the records of fighters on their birthday. It seems like it's close to 50-50, but that's far from being confirmed at this point in time. You're 100% right in Landwehr Duo Choi is the gravy. It's just everybody immediately was like, why is Bryce Mitchell Kron Gracie on the main card? And I get it. I understand the pushback. Nobody was like, why is Nate Landwehr Duo Choi on the main card? And was like, yep, put that thing right there. Open the evening up with that. Let's get going. I think that is an excellent choice. I will be the one who stands here. I'll make a stand, Mike. I'll be the guy who says, you'd have your gravy, or you need the gravy. You can have your cranberries or your stuffing. Not everybody has mac and cheese. You can have mac and cheese, but you need some Brussels sprouts or something. You need something that maybe doesn't appeal to everybody, but is good for you. And that is Dominic Reyes versus Anthony Smith. 2 ranked light heavyweights, frankly, 2 men who are well past their primes, probably.
Dominic Reyes is ranked?
Yeah, baby. He won. He beat Dustin Jacoby his last time. I don't know if he's ranked for us.
Jacoby was ranked?
I don't know if he's ranked for... So we're clear. I'm pretty sure Dominic Reyes was still ranked before he fought Dustin Jacoby.
No friggin' way.
He is number 12 in the UFC light heavyweight rankings. And Anthony Smith hanging on to 13. These are 2 ranked light heavyweights. It's a weird bout. It's a bout that feels fitting given where they're at in their careers. And it's a bout that I am sneaky interested in because Dominic Reyes is still young enough to maybe have some juice left. He went through obviously a very bad run, and it seemed like he just had the yips. Like, he was just that guy who he couldn't put it over when he got in the cage. And maybe this is, maybe he broke the seal. Maybe beating Dustin Jacoby is going to get him back. And he probably won't get to the spot he was when he should have beaten John Jones for the light heavyweight title. But maybe he can just be a relevant light heavyweight again instead of almost tragic figure in the sport. So I'm very, very interested in the prelim main event, even if maybe everybody else isn't. One last piece of business before we throw it to the peeps, Mike. And you're pretty used to this in the post shows I've run at this point because I really like this game. The game is very simple. There are very likely to be 4 bonuses given out tomorrow. Usually it's a fight of the night and 2 performance bonuses. Predict the 4 bonus winners for UFC 310.
Sorry. So what I have just been sort of told is it appears that this Randy Brown Bryan battle fight is happening. So we'll keep that in mind. We'll wait for sort of like
extra
a
money.
word. So I guess like from where we started the show to where we're at now, I would say just based on the text messaging that I've come across and done, this fight is probably happening tomorrow. So, but we all know Bryan Battle will not be receiving a bonus regardless of what happens. So,
and it's secretly now a much more interesting fight with this Randy Brown spice. Put a little seasoning on this fight, get us a little more excited for it. So,
yes. So it looks like the percentages have been worked out. So it appears that that should be a fun little face-off later on today because Bryan Battle's still going to go up there and talk a little shit, and Randy Brown's all mad.
Randy Brown, it's going to be good. And that was a good fight before. Like that was a sneaky good fight before the little extracurriculars now. So I'm glad it's going on. I frankly, at this point, transparently just hope Randy Brown wins because I extremely dislike it when fighters miss weight and win fights. It is not cool. So
bonuses. I'm going with Pants. I'm going with Shavkat. Now the question is there going to be a fight of the night, or is this just going to be a finish heavy bonus structure? I'm going to go with the finish heavy bonus structure. I do think this fight's going to be electric and fun, and I'm going to put that good juju into the universe. So I think unless Bryan Battle is involved, I think everybody who gets a finish is going to get a bonus. So Nate Landwehr is going to get a bonus. Dominic Reyes is going to get a bonus. Movsar Evloev is going to get a bonus.
Wow. Okay. I thought you were about to put your money where your mouth is and be like, Evloev, Aljo, fight of the night. Boom.
I think it's I think it's gonna be fun because I think we're gonna get a finish there. Chase Hooper bonus, Kenny Nunchuck's bonus. So yeah,
I mean, feeling the Christmas spirit, old Michael.
I'm feeling the Christmas spirit right now. I think Cody Durden, Josh Van's going to the cards. I think Chris Weidman, Eric Anders is going to the cards. Chiesa Griffin probably going to the cards as well, since Max Griffin is very tough to finish, as is Michael Chiesa. I don't see a world where Vicente Luque, Temba Garimbo does not go to the cards, but maybe we get all violence Vicente Luque. The only one I'm not, Cyril Gane Volkov is 1 billion% going to the cards. The Bryce Mitchell Chrome Gracie fight, I have no idea. I have no idea.
It could be a vote.
Throw it out. I'm going to tell the
mystery
world.
Box fight's the best.
I'm going to tell the world right now. I did the maybe dumb thing. I have a bet on Chrome Gracie tomorrow because I want to have fun, Jed.
But I
want to have fun.
I might do it.
Plus 550. I took a stab. I hate myself for it a little bit deep down, but I took a stab at it because I just don't know what this is. And if you're giving me,
because it'll be fun.
You got to do it. It's so fun. It's fun. So
I have a fairly large wager on that fight going over, parlayed with another over, just because it seems unlikely we get a finish. But yeah, why not? It's a very, very silly, ridiculous fight, and I love it dearly. So I'm with you. I will be giving Shavkat a bonus. I will be giving Chase Hooper a bonus, even though I have a bet on Clay Guida because Chase Hooper shouldn't be a minus 1,000 favorite over against pretty much anybody who's reasonable opposition. But I still think he's going to tap him and get a bonus because they love Chase Hooper. And then I am going chalky, but main event fight of the night. I think that fight's going to be awesome because Kai Asakura is awesome. I think it's going to go to the cards. So that's where I'm at with bonuses. Casey, get on in here. We've been chatting for 45-ish minutes. plenty of time to talk about this, and so it's time to turn it to the peeps. Casey, before we turn it to the peeps, how you doing? Got any thoughts you'd like to share about UFC 310?
No, I'm just really excited to see some top tier flyweight action in the main event, and it's a good card. It's a hardcore fans card. This won't do. It's whatever pay-per-view sales are good for the UFC. This is getting below that, but for the fans, this rules. If you're a hardcore fan, if you like high-level mixed martial arts, this is a great card. Top to bottom. I like it all.
This is the fourth best card of the year. It's the fourth best card.
Oh,
it's 300,
what are you?
300, 299, 308 in this.
308.
That's
I have
number
to
four.
go remember. 308 was Salt Lake, right?
No, 308
right?
was Taporia and
308 was Abu Dhabi. 307 was Salt Lake, right? So yeah.
I think from the prelim,
I could live with that.
From the curtain jerker to the main event, obviously 300 was 300, but I think from the first fight to the last fight, maybe not the main card. I know we can differentiate between pay-per-view and the whole card, but the whole card, I just love this card. So I'm just excited. Good. I'm excited. I'm excited to see Kai in the UFC. And just I totally agree with you, Jed. Maybe both of you guys I just cannot see a way the main event just doesn't freaking rock.
Kai Asakura is not a boring fighter, and Alexandre Pantoja is not a boring fighter, so it's gonna be pretty damn fun. And one more sleep, boys. I'm very excited for it. I think it's the third best card of the evening. I would put this card over 308, but I think that's competitive. And let's go to the peeps, guys. Y'all know it by now. If it's your first time, welcome. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you stick around. It's your time to take over the show. You put in questions, we answer them. Super chats get priority. And let's kick it. Let's get going so we can not spend 3 hours talking about this fight card. From Spencer Rudeminer. Been excited to ask this, boys. Not been a 6 title defense streak since DJ, yet a lot of champs look poised for a long run. List most to least likely for 6 title defenses. Alexandre Pantoja, Ilia Topuria, Islam Makhachev, Alex Pereira, and Tom Aspinall. Most to least likely from that group of 5.
Holy smokes.
Are we counting
Spencer?
Tom's interim?
I think that we're counting Tom's interim as a title defense.
Yeah, okay.
I will put Pereira at 5. Only because I don't know if he has that many fights left in him.
I agree Pereira is 5.
Yeah. And he might just go to heavyweight and fight John, and
which is weird because he already has 3, but he's just not going to fight 3 more times at light heavyweight.
No, I don't think so either. So I'll put him at the bottom. Boy, because you can make cases for all 4 of these guys.
I will put Tom at 1. I think.
Really?
I don't think he's going to fight John, who is the only person right now. And I know that that's a weird thing to say because heavyweight, the margins are so small. He's already beat like half these dudes anyway. And there's no other weight class for him to go to. Yeah. There's not like, I'm going to go do, like, he just has to fight heavyweights. And there's not like, there are no other up and coming heavyweights. Like Jailton's the only up and coming one, and he would kill Jailton. So like, I think Tom has a real opportunity to be the dude. The only thing that might stop that is him fighting John, and I will believe John fights him when I see them in the cage together. So I'm feel real good about my 1 and 5, and the 3 mix gets really interesting though.
Yeah, I definitely have Tom number 1 too. Number 1 also.
Yeah.
But the problem is, like, when DJ did his streak, this was a different time also. This wasn't double champ. You know, everyone's got to be double champ, time. Or UFC just didn't allow it. UFC just didn't allow it. And now
that's a big favor for Tom in this argument.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Because, Ilya came out today and was like, I'm trying to fight in April. I want to fight Islam. Like, he is already just trying to be done with featherweight, which is insane and won't end up happening. But
if we take out that switching weight classes, the UFC, you got to fight in this weight class. Who would you rank then? because I understand the jumping weight classes is kind of.
I would still pick Tom because I do not think there's a heavyweight who beats him. I would pick him to beat John, but and again, I don't think he's going to fight John. I'd still have Tom at 1 because he's just already beaten all the dudes. I would probably have Ilya at 2 because featherweight's in a weird weight class. Like it's a weird spot right now where kind of some old people hanging around, and like he doesn't have a ton of contemporaries to really push him and challenge him in a way that I think he probably can just put together a run. So I'd go Tom, Ilya, Poatan still is 5 if we're doing that he's forced to. If Poatan's forced to, then I would say Poatan is 3 because he already has 3 in light heavyweights, a dumpster fire of a weight class. Then Islam and Pants. Pants is awesome. I don't know how much longer Pants can keep doing this. I
have Pants at 2. I think Pants, because he's already fought and beat everybody. Like he's just going to recycle all of these guys. He's going to fight either Royval Moreno again after this one. Then he's just going to fight probably the other guy after that.
So this is his 3rd. Then a rematch with Royval Moreno would be 4. I would probably pick Moreno to beat him this time around. Maybe Pants could be a good one. He's just older though. 34 at flyweight is like 50 at heavyweight. So.
He's so good though. I mean, we'll see. This is
the most underrated fighter in the sport. This is why.
Yes.
Islam's interesting because I have to carry over my prediction from earlier this year that Arman Tsarukyan is going to be the lightweight champion. So
you're forced to put
in.
Islam low.
I'm all in. So I have Islam down it, but I will put him above
Islam
Pereira.
at 5. Actually,
I'll put him above Pereira just because I think Pereira might have one more title defense. He's either going to fight Ankalaev or he's just going to move up. Like there's just nothing there for him. And yes, I know what Jamal Hill tried to do yesterday, but failed miserably in doing that because even Pereira no-sold the shit out of it at the World MMA Awards red carpet. Like it was nothing, which is never a good thing. But this is a great question. I think Tom is probably number 1, but you can make a strong case for number 2 for literally either of these guys.
I feel very strong about Tom number 1. I'm just seeing some of the comments. I have Islam so far back in large part because I do not think he is going to stick around the sport much longer. Like he has 3 title defenses. If he beats Arman, he will set the lightweight title defense record. He is not fighting at lightweight twice more. If he beats Arman, he is fighting for the welterweight belt. That's just it. Like he is not fighting any of these other dudes next. So if we are saying he must, then I think he maybe defends once more before he walks away. Like Islam very clearly is of the same Habib cloth. I'm trying to get out of here before things go awry for me. And also lightweight is lightweight. Like it's the hardest weight class in the sport. Shit can get real weird real fast. So
I was about to say, but hardest weight class. I still think bantamweight is the hardest weight class because what are the chances of a bantamweight ever having 6 title defenses in the UFC?
I think Umar has a credible shot to do so.
You think Umar's the guy? You think Umar could be the first Habib?
Also, so we're clear, I don't think it's likely for that or for lightweight. Lightweight ain't got more than 3. So they're both just impossibly hard.
It's so interesting. Like 25, 45, they've kind of had dominant champions, but then the middle, the 35, 55, it's just insane.
And 70. 70's had a couple dominant champions.
Yeah.
Middleweight had dominant champions. Featherweight has had several dominant champions. Bantamweight and lightweight are just impossible.
Bantamweight's such a weird division because bantamweight's interesting because you cannot have a bad night and win as champion. It just, you don't see it. Lightweight, you can have a bad night and win. Like Islam had a bad night against Volkanovski in the first fight. Won. Didn't have the best night against Dustin Poirier. Still found a way to win. You don't see a lot of that at bantamweight.
Yeah. Like they're the best division in the sport by, I think, a pretty clear margin. And so outside of that, I would just think that Islam's road is harder than everyone else's because his our weight class. It's just his level of competition is much more difficult. But this is a great question, Spencer.
Thank you, Spencer. Jed, also, why are you so blue? What is going on?
I am unclear because when we logged on, I was like, it looks like I'm in an aquarium right now. And to the best of my knowledge, I am not. It's very blue outside, and I think it is
Okay.
just coming through this window. Like the skies couldn't be more clear than they are, and so I think
Yeah, I
the
don't
winter light
know.
Yeah, it
has
looks like
put
you're
me in a
cold.
snow
Like it
globe.
legitimately looks like
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
freezing.
looks like
And like,
we got in snow globe.
and like I can do some simple color correction on my side, and I can't like this is how you look. I mean, I'm trying to get you less. Well, that's a little better, but I was just thinking. All right.
I think it's fantastic. It's my new gimmick. I'm a huge fan of it.
All right. Thank you, Spencer. Actually, we have
Thank you, Spencer.
another super chat from our wonderful friend Spencer.
Spencer, are also a lot of uncrowned champs right now, assuming they get a title, most to least who gets most title defenses. Uh, Umar, Shavkat, Hamzat, Tom. Oh, we're putting Tom in both categories right now.
It's not fair.
Okay. I'm going to exclude Tom from this. We already talked about him and doesn't feel like he belongs in the same. Of Umar, Shavkat, and Hamzat as people we think are likely to get belts or have a very good chance. Order them. Mike, we'll start with you. Order them and who gets most to who gets least.
Jesus Christ. I didn't think I'd be thinking this much on a 310 post fight show, but here we are.
Right?
I mean, we got to probably put Tom up there again.
Oh, we're excluding Tom. Leave Tom out of this.
All
we
right,
already
Tom's
talked
out.
about Tom.
Okay. So we're assuming all three of these guys win the belt.
Yes.
And we're
Or I guess you don't. If they don't win the belt, then you can just put them at least, because then they get 0 title defenses.
Well, the question says assuming they get a title. So we have to assume they will win. Because Umar, I'm not 100% sure about. But if he does win, he will be champion for a long ass time. I'll go Shavkat. Because I think if he wins the belt, no one's beating him. He's still 30, so he's got a long way to go. I'll go Shavkat, Umar, Hamzat. And it's not shaded Hamzat. I just don't know how to predict how active of a fighter he will be. And I know with the change in the Oval Office that is coming, Hamzat might have a better chance of fighting outside of Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia. That's what I would assume anyways. And for MMA and UFC fans, like that's good news. But even so, he's not the most reliable and active guy on the roster. So if he wins the belt, like this could be a guy that fights once a year, maybe. And we don't even know if like all the things I just prefaced actually happens. So I'm just not sure about Hamzat. So I'll go Shavkat, Umar, Hamzat.
Casey, what are you thinking here?
Same thing. Yeah, Shavkat, Umar, Hamzat. That would be assumption Shavkat wins tomorrow and then beats Bilal. Yeah, that's 2 wins for Shavkat and Umar. Yeah, Shavkat, Umar, Hamzat, and just because it's 35 and it's so freaking tough.
I will put Hamzat as number 1 because if we are assuming he beats DDP, which I am not, I think I'm picking DDP if they fight. But if we are operating on the assumption he does win, middleweight is the worst of these weight classes by a pretty good margin in my estimation.
That is
and
true. You got a
thus
good argument
Hamzat just have a lot easier opposition. Shavkat would be next over Umar, and that is strictly, I think, welterweight. He has some easier lineups than Umar's going to get. Umar's not going to get a simple hand at bantamweight. Very, very tough weight class. If Shavkat beats Bilal, okay, we can do Leon and Usman. Usman's definitely past his prime. Leon's probably pretty close to it. He can do I get to kill some old guys. I get to kill the previous generation and pick up some wins there. Whereas Umar is like, all right, you got to fight Piotr Jan. Have fun. That sucks. So, I think all of them could have long reigns, but I will go Hamzat, Shavkat, Umar if I'm guessing.
All right.
It's a great question, though, Spencer.
Thank you, Spencer.
Thank you, Spencer.
Got a question from Lazy Bed.
The laziest of beds. What does flyweight lack that every other division has? An asshole everybody hates. Interesting postulation here, Mike. Do you agree that all flyweight needs is one galvanizing villain to make the weight class must-see television?
They had one. Henry Cejudo is
And he
guy.
saved the weight class. Remember? He told us constantly that he saved it.
I mean, currently right now, like, is there like anybody?
I actually 100% agree with this statement.
I don't know.
That's why the UFC wanted Cody and TJ too to be flyweight champs, because there's no heel. I know this isn't pro wrestling, but this essentially is pro wrestling. Fans need someone to cheer against. And Pants is so freaking likable. There's no controversy with Pants. He says nice things. He's like, oh, I think my opponent's great. I trained really hard. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. And we're like, boo, boring. Even though he's so freaking good and so exciting as a fighter.
He's likable, but he's not a star. He's not a star. Like Moreno became a star. He became a star. When he was winning, he won the belt. Like, he was over like Rover. And people thought he got screwed in the third fight with Figgy. I'm one of those people who felt Moreno won that fight. And then Moreno dusted him in the fourth fight. And then he goes and loses to Pants. And then he loses the belt. And then he loses again. And we're just like, okay, like the swings of this sport changes. So it's not just having an asshole, because almost by process of elimination, anybody who fought Brandon Moreno became said asshole because everybody freaking loved him because he came off like a superstar. Pantoja is just like, he's a great fighter. He's vanilla ice cream. Everybody likes it, but it's not cookies and cream. It doesn't have that like thing that just draws you to it. You just know it's right there and it's reliable.
Outside the fight, in the fight, he is cookies and cream. He's everything in the fight.
Exactly.
Outside the fight.
Exactly. Yeah. Personality wise, you just need a big booming star personality at the top of the division. You even had it to some extent with Figueiredo, because he didn't have to say much. He just iced fools. And people were like, okay, we have a flyweight who can absolutely destroy people in there. And then Moreno is just so likable, but also is a star. Pants is just has the likability, has the skills, but that doesn't always translate into dollars and notoriety and headline spots and like total excitement. Like, you can't put Pantoja next to Nate Diaz at a press conference and create magic, but you put Brandon Moreno next to Nate Diaz and there's magic between the two of those guys, because that's just who Brandon is. So yeah, I think it's great to have an asshole and have a guy that you could just boo, but you also could have like an ultimate star babyface at the top of the division as well to create interest. They just don't have either of those things at the top right this second. And that's how I view this whole conversation. But he's not wrong, and neither are you, Casey. It's just, you just need one way or the other, something big.
Mike, you got to kind of the point I had sort of thought through it. Well, they need two things. One, they just need Brandon Moreno to be the champion, because Brandon is over. Like, he is a star. He is headlines events, and there's no like question about it. It's when Brandon Moreno headlines Mexico City or Edmonton, it's not like, ooh, should he be? It's like, yeah, that's fine. Brandon Moreno can headline anything. Not, oh, Pantoja is headlining 310. That's probably a miss. Like, they need Brandon Moreno to not lose questionable decisions. And I honestly think that a non-zero part of this is they just need separation from the UFC actively trying to murder the weight class. Like, and they're getting it. There is a ton of up and coming flyweight talent. Like, a Contender Series has brought in just a whole host of awesome dudes in this weight class. It is very exciting. Lonnie Kavanaugh is super. Like, that dude's probably going to get the belt at some point. He's sick. But there is like a remaining stench of, they tried to drag this thing out back and shoot it and the gun misfired. And so like, it's hard for people to not still have that in the back of their heads. And eventually it'll go away as they like just treat it like a real weight class. Cause there was like a 7-year stint when flyweights didn't headline. They didn't headline an event for like 7 full years. So it's just, once they have gotten over the idea that we need to kill this, more time, it being just more included in stuff, and frankly, just more awesome fights. Flyweight in the next couple of years is going to be what bantamweight is, of like, every fight is awesome and people are like, oh yeah, that's going to be incredible. I can't believe we almost killed this weight class once upon a time. And so they just need some time to kind of distance themselves from their failed assassination attempt.
Yeah, and good luck. They need some good luck as well. Manel Kopp was getting there, and then he stopped fighting.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
And then he lost. Muhammad Khayev was getting there. He was kind of an asshole.
If Lonnie Kavanaugh comes and wins the belt, don't worry. This weight class will be doing just fine. Like, that kid's going to be a star. And so, like, if he comes and wins the belt, they're set. So I think it just needs time, and it will eventually become just like bantamweight.
Yeah. I know, real quick, I know this is a big what if, but if the UFC actually had Cejudo, they didn't do the trade, and Cejudo Mighty Mouse for a trilogy, would that have changed flyweight? Would that kind of
Probably.
rivalry? Yeah, because that was the potential to be some great, because I know we have Figueiredo and Moreno, but like this a few years before, like something, it would have been a great rivalry, that flyweight never had.
It would have been a great rivalry, and it would have been a statement of intent that they're not trying to actively harm this weight class. And so, yeah, like the flyweight failures are entirely, in my mind, on flyweight, are not on the weight class, on the UFC's handling of the weight class.
Yeah, and then Moreno and Figgy had that rivalry. Like, they delivered the rivalry that this division always needed.
They saved it. Like,
yes.
I remember
I agree.
There's that old I forget who the reporter was, but like when they're doing, it's like the ESPN thing about how the NBA was almost dying, and somebody was like, they say Michael Jordan saved the NBA. That's bullshit. Larry and Magic saved the NBA. Henry Cejudo didn't save shit. Like, Brandon Moreno and Davison Figueiredo saved the flyweight weight class. Like, Henry Cejudo didn't do shit in that regard. Those two men are the reason that it is still here, and it should have never been a question.
Look at the history of the look at how drastically different the UFC would look historically if DJ and Cejudo had a trilogy fight. There would be no Ben Askren. There'd be no Masvidal run. There'd be no, like, none of it. Like, a whole slew of things would look incredibly different had they had that trilogy fight. Like, it's just so wild to think
we
about.
Wouldn't have a pound for pound podcast with Triple C Henry Cejudo. It'd be great. Be a better. We'd probably be on Mars. Is what would probably happen.
Cars would be flying right now. Like
a futuristic photo of what society would look like.
Alex Pereira would be stepping up to Jamal Hill in the gym instead of vice versa. Like, it'd be a whole it'd be a bizarro world. It'd be incredible.
It'd be great.
Speaking of that,
let's get this out of the way. Going to ask about it.
Let's get it out of the way.
From Neil Steele, can Jed and Mike please give their take on Jamal Hill and the Alex Pereira scrum? Mike, we've talked about this through back channels and the old Slack machine, but tell the people, give the people your thoughts on what Mr. Hill and Poatan have managed to do in the last 24 hours.
I mean, realistically, nothing. They did nothing. And Pereira looks like an absolute hero in all this, and Jamal Hill looks like Jamal Hill has looked pretty much all year. And it's just tough, man, because like Jamal is a good dude and he's a good fighter, and just to see him make poor decision after poor decision has been wild. He goes up to Pereira, who's training, and you could tell Pereira immediately doesn't want to see him, but he's just like, yeah, man, what's up? And he goes for the dap. And then they start yapping, and Pereira throws gloves at him, and Jamal's like, fight for free, fight for free. Nah, we don't need no gloves. And Pereira's like, then what are we doing here? And you can just see he's getting annoyed with the situation. Like, he's not getting mad. There's nothing to that said, oh man, Alex Pereira is going to fight Jamal Hill now. Like this, like he wants this fight. What that said to me is that whatever goodwill Jamal Hill had in the Alex Pereira camp in order to try to get a rematch, he pissed that away so fast yesterday. He truly did. He looked awful in this. Like, Pereira's just like, what the F, dude? Like, what are we doing here? And Hill just kept talking and yapping. And then he goes on his podcast and gives his explanation about it, which makes no sense because we can actually see the fucking videotape. We can see what actually happened. And it's just his explanation of it is unbelievable. Now, what I was looking forward to the most was, what is Alex Pereira going to say about all this? Because he is in Las Vegas. I assume he would be on the red carpet. And he shows up to the red carpet and he no-sells it. Like nothing happened. He's basically just like, yeah, it was nothing. Who cares? That is the worst reaction that you could possibly imagine if you are a Jamal Hill fan right now. And by the way, Jamal Hill is fighting Yuri Prochazka at UFC 311. And the fact of the matter is that he's just completely zipping past Yuri, who is an absolute lunatic, and looking ahead to a fight that there is zero chance he's going to get. I don't understand this at all. And I made like a little video about it and kind of watched it in real time and just like sort of reacted to what I was seeing. And just like the only explanation somebody gave against this whole thing was like, oh, he's setting up his next title shot. What are you talking about? Alex Pereira was called out by John Jones. All right. And I'm not saying that fight is going to happen, but if John Jones is an option for Alex Pereira right now, he is always going to be an option for Alex Pereira, which means why in the world would he give Jamal Hill another payday? Why would he do that? The fight makes no sense. We saw it, and Pereira nuked him in the first round. Like, there's no fan clamoring for this rematch. No one is saying we want to see it. Nobody. And this keeps happening. I don't understand what he's doing. I truly don't. I don't know who's around him saying, you know what, Jamal, this is a terrific idea, because I can't imagine anybody saying that. So I say this to you, Jamal Hill, please listen to the people around you. And if you had just gone out there on January 18th and beat Yuri Prochazka, you make it look as easy as you say it's going to look on January 18th. You can call for that fight, and no one's going to have a problem with it. But the way you are handling this, and then the way that you continue to respond to people on social media and all of this, like, it's just such a bad look. And I like Jamal Hill, and it's just so tough to watch, man. Like, it's so tough to watch. Like, go give Joaquin Buckley a phone call. Call that man. Help me, Joaquin. Help me, because you were where I was 6 months ago. And now look at you. You're about to headline a pay-per-view in Tampa, Florida against Colby Covington because you did the thing and you did it correctly when you didn't do it earlier in the year. You can change face pretty quickly. Something like what Jamal Hill did yesterday, that is almost impossible to come back from. So I wish you luck, but the decision-making in 2024 for Jamal Hill has been some of the worst I've ever seen in the history of sports, if we're being honest.
It is an impressive failure. And to me, I had a couple of overarching thoughts. The first is obviously this is cringy and bad. The second is like, there are people who reflexively want to believe that everything is part of a grander idea and that nobody's being an idiot. They're all just playing the 4D chess and you don't understand. No, like, very obviously, this is not Jamal Hill trying to set up his next title fight. Like, Jamal Hill just cannot take an L and is acting the way irrational people do when they cannot come to grips with something that they do not like. I told you this literally immediately after, when Jamal Hill instantly changed his energy from I'm going to show him what striking really is to I dared to be great. But like, there is no rational argument to what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll up on this dude during training and I'm going to try and punk him, but then not, and myself kind of look like a punk. And actually this is a grand plan to make a fight happen. It's not. Like, he just was in the building and was like, my brain no longer works because that dude knocked me out. And I am fundamentally incapable of reckoning with the fact that that dude killed me with ease, because at the most basic level of this, Jamal Hill is not getting that fight. There's nothing he can do to get that fight other than win a bunch of fights, because you don't get a rematch when you beat Yuri Prochazka because you got knocked out in 3 minutes. There's no controversy. You can try to Sean O'Malley spin zone this to be like, actually, I didn't even kick him in the balls and the ref was in the way and it was a cheap shot. Like, you can try an obvious lie. No one is buying it. And so the only way to get back there is to get multiple wins, because you're also not going to like antagonize him into fighting you. Straight up, Alex Pereira has been very vocal. I kind of don't want to fight Magomed Ankalaev because he's being a dick. Like, I should fight him. I want to make him wait because he is annoying, is almost a direct quote. You think this is the behavior to get him to fight you? And then when he offers to fight you, put on some gloves, let's go fist fight. You're like, nah, I'm good. Like, it is a fundamental failure of literally all like rational thought here, because it's irrational thought. It is not a rational schemed out plan. It is a person acting entirely on their id and looking a bit foolish as a result of it. So, buddy, you shouldn't be talking about this either. Like, don't explain it. What you should be doing is go getting ready. Because if Yuri Prochazka beats you, you're going to look like the world's biggest jackass. Like,
he's never getting a title shot ever again if he loses to Yuri. Like what he has done, and I thought this anyways, but what he has officially done with this is he has become the man who needs a win more than anybody in the UFC. He is this year's he is 2025's Bilal Muhammad, and it's the first freaking pay-per-view of the year. Like, Bilal needed to win. He needed to beat Leon. He would have never gotten another opportunity at fighting for the belt, no matter what. Jamal, if he ever wants to get to a title fight, he has to beat Yuri Prochazka. If he loses, he's done. He's like, I don't know where he goes. He's fighting the Bogdan Guskofs of the world for the rest of his UFC days if he loses to Yuri Prochazka. You would think he should be fully focused on that man who is probably in some dark cave right now, just drawing pictures on a brick wall with his fingernails of himself knocking out Jamal Hill. Like, that's a scary man. You should probably focus on that and not on a fight that you had a 3% chance of getting, but now you have a negative 37% chance of getting after what you did yesterday. So feel however you want, and you can make your predictions, and you can have a problem with what anybody has to say about it. But we saw what happened. We know what the perception of this is. And we know that nobody wanted the rematch, and now certainly nobody wants the rematch. Nobody wants to see Pereira just give him his comeuppance. Like, this is heat that you don't want. Well, we talked about this on BTL not that long ago. Not all press is good press. It just isn't. And in this, he has X-Pac heat right now. Mm-hmm. We bring this up every once in a while. Not everybody. He has that Henry Cejudo-esque heat right now. He is in that position where it's just like, ugh. And I hate to say that about him, but that's just what reality is right now. Because like I said, he is a good dude, and he is a good fighter. But ever since he beat Glover Teixeira, like, I don't know. I just don't understand it. Yes, he gets hurt, and yes, he did all the things. But then when Pereira wins the belt, he's just like, yeah, man, it's going to be the easiest fight I've ever had in my life. Like, I'm so excited that Alex won. And every decision he has made since that point has been the wrong one. Be George Costanza. Do the opposite of whatever you're feeling.
Dude. Just log off. And really that should be the rule for every fighter.
That's a big one.
Because I thought it was a bad confrontation. Like, he obviously comes off looking silly, and he can be as upset as he wants to. Nobody viewed that and is like, Jamal Hill looks good after this. Like, everybody was like, yeah, Alex Pereira looks like the better human here. Him then going on his podcast a couple of hours later and explaining it, and like making very like overtly ridiculous statements like, oh, like we were just both training. And so like he had been chirping me on Twitter. So I wanted to go up to him and let him know, like, we could talk face to face. And like, as if he's talking to you on Twitter because he is afraid to speak to you face to face. You fought him. You have already fought him. There is not a debate that he wouldn't say that shit to your face. Like, there is none. You don't need to verify it. Well, like, if he wants to talk shit, he can get slept right now. That is, let me pull up the quote, because it was like, I was watching, it was like, I can't believe he's saying this. I was at the PI earlier, ask him so we don't have to talk about it across Twitter because I'm right here. Initially, I went up to him. It went smooth. Don't run to heavyweight. I'm going to go handle business. We need to run this back. He said something to his translator, and his translator said, you're still asleep. You just woke up. Shit, I'm wide awake now. You can get put to sleep for real. Where was it then? If he can get put to sleep for real, fight him. Fight him right there. If you are going to carry yourself as you are about that life, and I believe Jamal Hill will be about that life, then be about it. But don't say I was going to be about it and then I didn't. Like, it is just log off, man. You do not have to fight every battle, especially if you're not going to actually fight the damn battle when he is offering to fight you right then. It was so ludicrous.
Dude, Alex Pereira didn't like hand him gloves. He fucking chucked him at his feet and basically said, pick him up and get in the cage.
Literally threw down the gauntlet.
Like, he was like, yo.
Literally threw down the gauntlet.
Yeah, it was like literally like he goes to almost like he was going to reach for him, and Alex just dropped him at his feet. Like he just threw you gloves. Like he laid the gauntlet down. He's like, all right, let's do it. Because Alex is not going to get into a street fight with Jamal Hill at the fucking UFC PI. He's the champion of the world. Why would he do that? So he gives Jamal an out, gives him the gloves. Let's do it. If you're going to put me to sleep, like put me to sleep. This whole rematch, all Jamal had to do is be like, hey, man, I got this big fight coming up on January 18th. If all goes well, hopefully you and I can run it back. How hard is that? How hard is that?
Impossible.
It would have been a genuine moment. We would have been writing a whole different article. The video still would have been posted because it's Jamal Hill going up to Alex Pereira and having a conversation. Alex Pereira having a conversation with anybody is going to get traction on social media and on the internet. So if you just walked up to him and said, yo, I'm fighting the dude that you iced twice. If I beat him, can I be next? Or I want my rematch if I win this fight. Like it is, you could accomplish so much more by not being a shithead. And that's kind of what happened here. It's just so frustrating to watch this downfall of a guy who shouldn't be in this position right now. Listen to the people around you. Like I said earlier, be George Costanza. You're tuna on toast, not chicken salad. You're tuna on toast today. Do it.
You say frustrating.
I'm wide awake
I find
now.
It's so entertaining. Wait, I have a real quick question about the situation. So I only saw the video that was uploaded by the media outlet Full Send. Is that where most of the? So was Full Send with Jamal? Were they like, oh, let's do this, or they just happened to be there, or
I think they were just there because
Jamal did this with no. Because I'm assuming this is a kind of a place where
there are a lot of different angles of it. Like once the first video came out, you started seeing like a lot of different angles of it. And there's no way, because there were other people working out in the gym. Like you saw people on the freaking ERG bikes, like just pedaling away as all of this is happening, and they're like sneaking their phones out. There's no way. Like this is obviously a plan. This is premeditated. And it just went so bad. Like I don't know who thought this is a great idea.
The word plan is relative. Like it was premeditated. They determined to go do this, but they didn't really think about it at all. Because if they had literally been like, okay, so what happens if Alex Pereira wants to fight me? Well, then you should fight him or you're going to look real bad. But I don't want to fight him. And he shouldn't have fought him. So we're really clear. I'm not saying Jamal Hill should have tried to fist fight Alex Pereira because he has a fight next month. But he also shouldn't have like transparently tried to posture if he wasn't ready to take it there. Because Pereira will throw down. Like,
what do you think he was trying? Honestly, what do you think he was trying to accomplish?
I think he was trying.
What do you think his best result was?
I truly think a lot of it was strictly, I'm going to go do this. And what I want to just get a clip of us jawing at each other and him saying, I've already knocked you out or whatever. But the moment Alex was like, we can go right now, that was like, that was not part of his mental calculus. And it was correct. He should not have fought him. That would have obviously been a very silly mistake. Not the least of which, because he might well have just gotten stretched out again. But like, he just didn't think this out. It's like, this will just be one of those face-offs. Everybody will have their cameras. It'll start building hype, and I'll get my name back out there. Not Alex Pereira is going to make me look very, very silly again.
Yeah. My thought was just kind of watching the beginning was, he says that, and then Pereira's just like, go away. I don't want to fight you or do whatever, and just back off completely. And then he can go on a show and be like, yeah, man, I stepped up to him and he turned me down. He was afraid of me. And something like that. But that's obviously not what happened here. And like you said, I don't think he was ready for Pereira to just chuck a pair of gloves at him. It's like, all right, you want to do this? Like, there's a cage. Here's some gloves. I have gloves. Look, I also
Let's
have gloves
go.
on. Let's go into that cage and let's settle this like men.
Like,
It's just
I'm
so
trying to
bad.
imagine like
We gotta
Jamal
move
Hill,
on,
like when he
please.
was envisioning this, and he's like, I'm gonna walk up to him while he's hitting the bag, I'm gonna greet him, and then I'm gonna go, I want you next, and then Pereira will run away scared. Was that what he was thinking? What was the?
Buddy,
I have no idea. I have no idea.
I put all the chips in the middle because I thought you would fold, and then you did not fold, and suddenly I'm here holding 7 deuce and looking a bit silly.
Yeah, this is John Malkovich calling Matt Damon's big all-in bet at the beginning of rounders, and he was like, I knew before he even turned the cards
Turn over
over.
the cards. It's like, all right, well,
Ace is
this
full,
went
Mike.
awry. And then he goes on his podcast and tries to save face, and it did not work. Super didn't work.
Just go in there and win, man. Like that changes everything. Go in there and win. And because I give him credit for UFC 300. Like he said a lot of things and he built up interest for the fight, because when they first booked that fight, I was like, Alex Pereira is going to run him over. Like he's going to hurt this man real bad. And then the way Jamal kept talking and the confidence he was exuding, this wasn't just about selling pay-per-views. Like this dude, you could look at his face and he truly believed that he was going to go in there and make Alex Pereira look like an amateur. And I was like, okay, I'm interested to see what this man is talking about, because I want to see what I'm not prepared for. And what we got was the exact fight I thought we would get and the exact result I thought we would get. So I don't know, man. Like, I just don't know how he gets this. Even in this division, I just don't know how he gets it. Like, I don't think there's enough like fan push for it. Like, I think people would give like if Yuri goes out and knocks out Jamal Hill, he's going to look like a friggin' hero. They might just give him a third crack before they even think about giving Jamal Hill a title shot.
To me, that's the worst part about this is Jamal, to your point, he has X-Pac heat. Jamal has done nothing to make himself a more notable figure of like, I got to see this dude lose. What he has done is he has bolstered the reputation of Pereira and potentially bolstered his opponents. Like that's not what, like in the UFC terms, great. They should love this. In his personal career terms, you're enhancement talent right now if you don't go out here and beat Yuri, and that is not a great place to be. We've talked enough about this. I will add some dude in the comments keeps being like, if he beats Yuri, then he's the logical next contender. He's not, because he got knocked out in 3 minutes.
And Magomed Ankalaev is the logical next contender.
Actually, I mean, we're going to go to the next super chat, which relates to that.
Okay. Chase, given the fact that no one cares about Magomed, is it possible Hill jumps in with a big knockout over Yuri in LA, or does Hill just look like, I will not say that word? We've talked a lot about this, and the answer is no. Again, I can't stress this enough. He got knocked out in 3 minutes. There was no controversy. There's nothing about this. He was iced with ease. You got to do more than beat one dude, even if that dude is the number 2. The UFC let Khalil Roundtree at number 12 or whatever fight for the belt. Like, they'll just pick the next dude on enough of a win streak. It is more likely they run back Khalil Roundtree Jr. than give Jamal Hill a title shot if he beats Yuri. Like, the way he gets to a title fight is Magomed Ankalaev beats Alex, or Jamal Hill puts together 3 wins.
Dude, they were going to give Anthony, like they were talking about Anthony Smith getting a title shot less than a year ago. Like,
Carlos
that's where this division
on like
is.
an 8-fight win streak. Carlos Ulberg is very clearly ahead of Jamal Hill in the pecking order.
If Jamal beats Yuri, he's fighting Ulberg. Like, I think that's where the winner of this fight ultimately ends up going. Unless Ulberg is fighting Jan Blachowicz or something, because I know Jan is saying like he's got a fight coming up. Unless Ulberg is already signed to fight him somewhere, maybe in Sydney or whatever, like wherever that Australia card's taking place, like you're fighting Ulberg, man. Like that's just where you're at right now. You gotta win more. And plus, like I said earlier, Pereira can go and fight John. This is Pereira's world. Whatever he wants to do, he's gonna do. Dana White said, because people keep clapping back, Pereira ain't fighting John Jones. Dana said he's fighting Tom. What did Dana say at that press conference? No way I'm making that fight. And then at one point he said, well, I guess if both guys just really bug me about it, they'll make it. Of course they'll make it. Of course they'll make it. It's going to cost less money for the UFC to have John Jones fight Alex Pereira than it will to have John Jones fight Tom Aspinall. So business, there you go. Please, this whole thing is so silly.
And this goes into our next super chat, also from Chase.
Chase, is there a better chance Tom fights John next or the Gon Volkov winner? I would say I lean Gon Volkov. I think that is pretty clearly this is set up to be a title eliminator bout in a world where John is no longer with the promotion. And like I said, I will believe John Jones is fighting Tom Aspinall when the cage door closes with him. So, yep.
Yeah, I'm kind of with the Gon Volkov myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope I'm wrong. I really, truly do. But the UFC doesn't have to make this fight. They don't have to give John anything. They will thrive and be just fine without him.
Yep.
Mike Conlon, I need you to think critically. I just take 3 deep breaths and think about the things you were saying. Yes, you do go to the guy on a 8-fight win streak versus the winner of a rematch between 2 dudes that the current champion knocked out this year. Not like years ago, literally within the past 10 months. You absolutely go to Carlos Ulberg. Also, if you don't think that that's just what you should do, they physically did it 2 months ago when Khalil Roundtree Jr. challenged him. Like, this is not hard. You gotta think. You just got to. I love you dearly. I hope nothing but the best for you.
Mike,
rub your brain cells together and make friction because this ain't happening.
Rankings don't matter. Rankings don't matter. Jamal Hill is not a star.
Characters.
He's not a star. Like, Pereira is the A side. If Alex Pereira fights Magomed Ankalaev or Jamal Hill, they will do the same number on pay-per-view. There's no more, no less. Jamal Hill is not going to sell more pay-per-views than Magomed Ankalaev. It is they are buying the pay-per-view to watch Alex Pereira do Alex Pereira things. Now, if we want to see Alex Pereira be challenged doing Alex Pereira things, then you do Magomed Ankalaev. And I'm not saying Jamal Hill could not pose a challenge for Alex Pereira. In fact, I thought he could at UFC 300 the way Jamal was talking. But after having seen the fight, I don't think that anymore. So, I mean, look, it's Pereira's world right now. If he wants to go to heavyweight, he'll go to heavyweight. He can do whatever he wants right now. The world is his oyster. And his response on the red carpet last night tells you everything you need to know about this situation. He wants nothing to do with fighting Jamal Hill again. And it's not because he's afraid of Jamal Hill. It's because that fight to him is not challenging nor interesting. That's a bad thing for Jamal Hill. If he came in and said, I'm going to rip his throat out the next time I see him, yeah, you got something. You can get excited about that. But the fact he was just like, there's just a thing that happened. Let's go. Move on. It was like a 30-second answer. It was nothing. Absolutely nothing. He no-sold it like it never took place. Horrible reaction.
Casey, please find us a question that doesn't have us talk about Jamal Hill anymore.
Give us women's strawweight, like the complete opposite.
If we have, actually, Casey, if we have any more super chats, let's go to those. And and then let's go to the thing I sent you.
I got one. I got
Boom. Sleeto. Jed, any books have an over-under on eye pokes for Weidman? Obviously, Sleeto listened to No Bets Barred this week. No, but there is always, basically every fight, and DraftKings always has it up. A couple other books usually do. There's like a plus 2,000 bet for a point will be deducted. Points never get deducted, so, playing with fire. But a man with a history of sticking his fingers out, and now we don't even have the anti-pokey gloves anymore.
John Jones.
So it could very much happen. Also, maybe he just gets a TKO via headbutt because, he can do that. All sorts of things can happen in fights now. I'd shout out to Chris Weidman for winning via penalty. Is one of the greatest things that's happened in the sport.
Unreal.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Sleeto. And our last comment, because we have gone a long time.
Yes. The Hill thing took us.
The Hill thing was like that's a whole.
We went downhill, you could say.
All right. From Lazy Bed.
Yeah, Lazy. You have to take part in a Secret Santa exchange with the fighters on UFC 310. Which fighter do you hope you have to buy for, and what do you get them? Casey, I sent
This is the
this to you
easiest
because
question
as soon
in the
as I
book.
saw this, I literally was like, I know the answer. You could probably guess my answer, but I will no further gilding the lily. I want Bryce Mitchell, and I would immediately just send him a globe. Like that is the Christmas gift he gets is a globe. Works for Kron Gracie too, but I want Bryce Mitchell to get a globe.
That's so funny. So, I mean, I love the Bryce thing. So one year, I think I was like maybe a sophomore or junior in high school. And you always ask your parents what they want for Christmas, but it's so frustrating to buy for them because they already have everything. And so my parents went to the point of we don't need this, but don't get us this because I don't like this. And when my mom never did that again, because that year she's like, I don't want, don't get me, she goes, don't get me any candles. So me and my brothers, we bought her all the candles from the biggest candle you could find to fucking birthday cake candles. Like everything you could get, everything she opened had candles in it, some way, shape, or form. So if I was buying for Bryce, I would tell all my friends to also buy for Bryce, and we would get him some sort of seatbelt. Just some sort of seatbelt, either a real one or a toy one
that makes them more comfortable.
Seatbelt T-shirt, anything, just for that. The answer,
a big sign that says "buckle up for safety."
The answer for just little things like that. But the correct answer and the easiest answer for which fighter do you hope to have is Chase Hooper, because you just got to buy him fucking M&Ms, and he is the happiest man on earth. He will win his fight. He will go and submit Clay Guida tomorrow. And then he will go to the big M&M store in Las Vegas and buy a whole bunch of M&Ms, and he will be the happiest young man that you will see trotting around Las Vegas. So that's what I would do. But the Bryce Mitchell seatbelt and the Bryce Mitchell globe thing is very
Bryce Mitchell globe. I saw the question was I need Casey to see this because I would like to end on this joke.
Oh God.
I'm going a bit of a deeper cut. My Secret Santa gift is for Cyril Gahn, because me being from Houston, Texas, a big fan of DJ Screw, and Cyril Gahn being a big fan of DJ Screw, I would go out and find him an original mixtape of the June 27th
Chopped and Screwed
mixtape. So Cyril Gahn would love that. So that would be my gift.
That's a good call too.
Yes. And gentlemen, anything else to add to the Jamal Hill story? We're good. We're good.
No.
I desperately want Alexander Volkov to win tomorrow because look at that man's flow. Just what a guy. I want Volkov
star of the press conference yesterday. The star of the press conference.
Guys, that's it.
Well, we went to decision, so he didn't punch very hard.
Yeah. How hard is it? Not that hard. We went 25 minutes. This is great. Casey, hit the music. Let's get out of here. We've been going for a while now. The hill detour took us bad places, but good places are to come because we are 24 hours, well, probably 26, 27-ish hours from the first fights of the final pay-per-view of the year. If you are not paying or not watching, you can stick with MMAfighting.com. We have you covered with everything. There is a People's Pre-Fight Q&A with Mike Heck and Casey tomorrow before the event. There is a watch party that we will be there. And, of course, all your coverage needs are on MMAfighting.com, including a post-show right here after the event. So, keep it locked to MMAfighting.com all weekend, our YouTube, the podcast network, everything, and otherwise. Have fun. We only get 2 more of these this year, and this is the best one. So buckle up. See y'all soon.
Bye-bye.
Love y'all.